There is a moment, so quiet, so subtle, that most people miss it completely. A moment when something shifts, not outside, not in the world you can touch, but deep within the unseen threads that are quietly shaping your life. And right now, you are standing inside that moment. You may not fully understand why your heart has been feeling different lately, why certain thoughts keep returning, why certain memories feel closer than before, why a name, a face, or even a feeling refuses to fade away. It is not random. It is not coincidence. Something is aligning, slowly, carefully, intentionally. But here is what no one told you. The answer you have been waiting for has already been spoken, not loudly, not in a way the world could hear, but in a space far beyond noise, beyond doubt. A quiet yes has already been given, and you felt it, didn't you? That strange sense of peace that arrived without explanation, that moment where your worry softened, even if just for a second, that feeling like something is being handled, even when you don't see how. That was not your imagination. That was your soul recognizing a truth before your mind could understand it. Pause here for a second. If everything was uncertain, why would your heart feel this calm? There is a reason. Because what is coming toward you is not built on chaos. It is being prepared in stillness. Now listen carefully, because this is where it becomes deeper. You thought the delay meant denial. You thought the silence meant distance. You thought the confusion meant something was wrong. But what if none of that was true? What if the pause was protection? What if the waiting was alignment? What if every moment that felt like nothing was happening was actually everything falling into place? You see, not all answers arrive as events. Some answers arrive as preparation. And right now, you are in that sacred preparation. There is someone connected to your story, someone whose path has been crossing yours in ways you didn't even notice. Not always physically, not always directly, but energetically, emotionally, spiritually. And something inside them has been changing too. Slowly at first, almost invisible, then all at once. But here's the part that might surprise you. Their realization did not begin with you. It began with themselves. There were things they had to understand, patterns they had to break, truths they had to face. And until that happened, they could never meet you the way you truly deserve. So the distance you felt, the silence you questioned, the moments that made you doubt, they were never about losing you. They were about becoming ready for you. Take a breath, because this next part matters more than you think. You were never meant to chase what is already choosing you. Let that settle. You were never meant to force what is already being guided toward you. And yet, there is something you still don't see. Something that changes everything. Because while the answer has been given, while the path has been prepared, while the connection has been quietly strengthened behind the scenes, there is a twist. Not a twist of fear, not a twist of loss, but a twist that will make you stop and realize that what you expected was only a small version of what is actually unfolding. You imagined one path, but something greater is being written. And this is where most people turn away, because it requires trust. Not blind trust, not forced belief, but a quiet, steady knowing that even when you don't understand the direction, you are still moving exactly where you need to be. Think about it. Why did certain people leave your life exactly when they did? Why did certain plans fall apart right before they could begin? Why did you feel pushed away from things that once felt right? It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. And every redirection has been leading you here, to this moment, where something important is about to reveal itself. Don't skip this part, because what comes next is not loud, but it is powerful. There is a reason your heart keeps returning to this connection. A reason it doesn't fully let go, even when you try to distract yourself, even when you tell yourself to move on, even when logic says something else. Because your heart recognizes alignment before your mind accepts it. And alignment cannot be forced, cannot be rushed, cannot be replaced. It can only be realized. Now here's the truth that changes everything. The yes you've been waiting for was never just about the outcome. It was about the transformation. Because what is coming is not just a moment. It is a union of two people who are no longer the same as they once were. Two people who have been shaped, refined, prepared, separately, so they can finally meet, differently. And when that moment arrives, it will not feel rushed. It will not feel uncertain. It will feel clear. Almost like something inside you simply says, "This is it." But before that clarity appears, there is one final layer unfolding. One final shift that neither of you can avoid. And this is where the twist begins to reveal itself. Because the timing is not what you expected. The way it happens is not what you imagined. And the moment it finally comes together, it will ask you one question. Are you ready to receive what you once only hoped for? Not in theory, not in dreams, but in reality. Because receiving requires a different kind of courage than waiting. And right now, you are closer than you realize. Closer than yesterday. Closer than ever before. Something important is waiting for you, just beyond this moment. And as everything continues to unfold, piece by piece, quietly, intentionally, you will begin to notice the signs. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, but undeniable. And when you do, you will understand why nothing happened sooner. Because it was never meant to. It was always meant to happen, like this. But there is still something you haven't seen yet. Something that will make everything suddenly make sense. And that is where this story begins to change. It begins in a way you almost overlook, not with a grand moment, not with a sudden declaration, but with something quieter, something that feels familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. A shift in energy, a change in how they see you, and how you feel them. At first, you may question it. You may wonder if it's real, if it's lasting, if it's just another passing moment. But look closer. Why does it feel different this time? Why does it feel steady? Because something inside them has finally settled. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough to recognize what they almost lost without even realizing it. And that realization, it didn't come easily. It came through distance, through silence, through moments where your absence spoke louder than your presence ever could. And now, they are beginning to understand. But here's where everything takes a turn you didn't expect. They are not coming toward you in the way you imagined. No dramatic entrance. No overwhelming confession. No sudden rush to fix everything all at once. Instead, they approach slowly, carefully, almost as if they're learning you all over again. Pause here. Doesn't that feel strange? After everything, after all the waiting, why would it begin so quietly? Because this is not the same connection anymore. This is not built on impulse, or temporary emotion, or uncertainty. This is something that has been tested, reshaped, refined. And anything real, anything lasting, does not rush back into your life. It enters, with intention. Now listen closely, because this is where the twist deepens. You expected them to come back ready, fully certain, completely clear. But that's not what happens. They return, aware, but still unfolding. And that might confuse you at first. You might think, why now, if everything isn't fully figured out? But what if clarity doesn't come before the connection? What if it comes because of the connection? Let that settle for a moment. Sometimes, two people don't come together because everything is perfect. They come together because they are finally ready to grow, together. And that is exactly what is happening here. But here's the part that changes everything. You are not the same person they left behind. Something inside you has shifted too. Your patience has deepened. Your understanding has expanded. And your heart, it no longer holds on in the same way. It holds, but with peace. And because of that, when they step closer this time, you won't react the way you once would have. You won't rush. You won't question every word. You won't lose yourself in the moment. Instead, you will observe, you will feel, and you will know whether this is real, or just familiar. Take a breath. Because this is where your power quietly returns to you. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are choosing, with awareness. And that changes everything. Now something subtle begins to happen. Small moments start appearing. Unexpected conversations. A message at a time you didn't expect. A feeling that something is about to be said, but isn't, yet. These are not random. These are openings. But notice this carefully. They are not pushing you anymore. They are not overwhelming you. They are giving you space. Why? Because somewhere deep inside, they know. They know they can't come back the same way they left. They know this time, they have to show up differently. And so, they wait. Not in silence like before, but in awareness. And this is the moment most people misunderstand. Because it doesn't look like progress. It looks slow. It looks uncertain. But beneath the surface, something powerful is building. Trust. Not the kind that is spoken, the kind that is felt. And trust takes time to rebuild. Now here comes the part you didn't see coming. This connection is not returning to what it was. It cannot. Because what it was could not hold what it is becoming. So instead of going back, it is moving forward, into something unfamiliar. Something deeper. Something that asks both of you to let go of who you used to be, so you can meet as who you are now. And that is not easy. There will be moments of hesitation. Moments where old patterns try to return. Moments where you both feel the weight of what happened before. But here's the difference. This time, you won't ignore it. You will face it. Together, or not at all. And that is where the real shift happens. Because love, real love, is not about avoiding difficulty. It is about choosing each other, even when things are not perfectly clear. Now pause for a second. If everything had gone the way you originally wanted, would you have grown into the person you are right now? Would they? Or would you both still be repeating the same cycle, without even realizing it? Sometimes, the delay is the only way to break the pattern. And that is exactly what happened here. You were not being kept apart. You were being prepared, separately. And now, the distance that once felt painful, is becoming the very reason this connection can finally stand. But there is still one final layer. One final realization that has not fully revealed itself yet. Because even though they are coming closer, even though the connection is rebuilding, even though the yes has already been spoken, there is something neither of you can avoid. A moment, a decision, a truth that will rise to the surface, whether you are ready or not. And when that moment arrives, it will not ask you to hope. It will not ask you to wait. It will ask you to choose, clearly, honestly, without fear. And when you stand in that moment, you will finally understand why everything had to happen this way. But that moment, it's closer than you think, closer than they realize, closer than even your heart is prepared for. And when it arrives, nothing will feel uncertain anymore, because everything will finally reveal what it was always meant to become. It doesn't arrive with noise, it arrives with a feeling you can't ignore. A quiet certainty begins to rise inside you, not rushed, not overwhelming, just steady, almost like something within you has finally decided to speak, after staying silent for so long. And suddenly, everything starts making sense. Not all at once, but in fragments. Moments replay in your mind, things they said, things they didn't say, the spaces in between, and you begin to see the pattern that was always there, hidden beneath confusion. But here's the part that changes everything. The moment you've been waiting for is not just theirs, it's yours. Pause for a second. Because this is where the story gently turns toward you. You spent so much time wondering what they would do, what they would say, how they would come back, but now something deeper is being asked. What will you do when they finally stand in front of you, not as who they were, but as who they are becoming? Will you see them clearly, or through the memory of who they used to be? Will you meet them in the present, or hold them in the past? This is the moment that defines everything. And here's the twist you never expected. The yes that was spoken was never only about them choosing you. It was also about you choosing yourself first. Let that sink in. Because real union does not begin when two people come together. It begins when both individuals are no longer searching for completion, but are ready to share what they already carry within. And that is exactly where you stand now. Not incomplete, not waiting to be filled, but whole, aware, and quietly powerful. Now something subtle, yet undeniable, begins to unfold. They feel it, even if they can't fully explain it, even if they don't have the perfect words yet. They sense the difference in you. Your energy is no longer reaching, it's receiving. Your presence is no longer questioning, it's understanding. And this changes how they approach you, completely. Because for the first time, they are not trying to hold your attention, they are trying to honor it. Take a breath. Because what comes next is where everything aligns. A conversation begins. Not necessarily long, not necessarily dramatic, but real. More real than anything you've shared before. There are pauses, but they're not uncomfortable. There are words, but they're not forced. And somewhere in between, something unspoken is finally understood. This is not the same connection. This is not the same dynamic. This is something new. And in that moment, you feel it. That quiet inner voice again, the one that never lies, the one that sees beyond surface emotions, it gently says, "This is different." But here's where the final layer reveals itself. The breathless twist was never about something unexpected happening outside of you. It was about realizing that what you once prayed for has arrived in a form you almost didn't recognize. Not louder, not more intense, but more real, more grounded, more aligned with who you have become. And that realization, it doesn't overwhelm you, it settles you, because deep down, you already knew. Now listen carefully. This is the moment where many lose their clarity, because when something finally arrives, there is a temptation to rush, to hold tightly, to make sure it doesn't slip away. But you won't do that, because you understand something now. What is truly meant for you does not need to be forced into staying. It stays, because it belongs. And that knowing gives you a calm strength that cannot be shaken. Now the energy between you both begins to change in a way that feels almost effortless. There is no longer a need to prove. No longer a need to guess. No longer a need to chase. There is only presence. And from that presence, everything else begins to grow naturally. Trust, understanding, closeness. Not rushed, not demanded, but built, moment by moment. And then it happens. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way the world would notice, but in a way your soul will never forget. A truth is spoken, simple, clear, honest, and when you hear it, everything inside you becomes still. Because this is what you were waiting for, not the words themselves, but the energy behind them, the certainty, the intention, the alignment, and in that stillness, you realize something profound. There is nothing left to question, nothing left to chase, nothing left to prove, only something to receive, and in that moment, you do, fully, without fear, without hesitation, without looking back, because now, you understand. The delay was not a denial, the silence was not absence, the distance was not separation, it was preparation, for this exact alignment. And as everything settles into place, gently, naturally, beautifully, you feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Peace. Not temporary, not fragile, but deep, steady, and real. And from that peace, something even greater begins to rise. Not urgency, not intensity, but a quiet, powerful knowing that what is meant for you has finally found its way, and this time, it's not leaving,